today and do a quick little reading for all of the signs for Mercury retrograde. Mercury went into retrograde April 21st, and it's going to stay there until May 14th. So I just wanted to see over the next 2 weeks what we're dealing with, what we should be focusing on, what we should try to be avoiding. I have the Ethereal Visions deck for us today, so that is exciting. Hold on. I look a little foggy. Hold on. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. That's a lot better. So let's see. Any updates? I hope you guys are having a really good month. It has been very busy over here on my end. I have just finished all of the May monthly readings, which is very exciting. And classes begin May 1st. For those of you that don't know, over the last year and a half, I've been running an intuitive program for aspiring psychics, tarot readers, healers, and my new tarot classes come out next Monday. Monday. Next Monday, May 1st. So if you're interested in taking a tarot class with me, a psychic workout, as we like to call it, all of that information is going to be in the description box for you. I've created a bulletin board on my website. So every month you can just go to the bulletin board and you can see all of the monthly readings. I've put up free resources for you guys who are trying to learn tarot. So there's free study guides on there that I made for you. All of the classes for the upcoming month are on there. Specials for personal readings, everything that you could possibly need and want from me for you for the month is going to be on the bulletin board. So just click the links in the description box and it'll just be there for you. But like I said, today we're here for Mercury retrograde, the bane of all of our existences, and we're having this Mercury retrograde in the midst of a brand new eclipse season. So that's also pretty exciting stuff. Nothing to stress about, no pressure, right? And so as I said, I have the Ethereal Visions. I just wanted to do a bit of an all signs and go through and just see what should you be doing and what should you be avoiding over the next 2 weeks. So let's see, we're gonna start with Aries, as we do, top of the zodiac. I feel I don't know what this, but Aries, I feel a lot of tension in my neck and my shoulder right here on my left-hand side. I would just consider over the next 2 weeks, any kind of spiritual or energetic pressure that is either being put on you by different spirits, entities, ancestors, and what you're sort of taking on spiritually right now, that may be sort of impeding your communication, your ability to assert your own opinion, your own destiny, your own objectives. Pay attention to that. Make sure that you're setting boundaries with, spirits, and your spiritual life, just like you set boundaries at work and with people in your experience. Very good. Just had to put that out there for my little Aries. Oh my goodness. Hi, Holly. How are you? Okay, Aries. All right, what's your due? Ooh, got a couple. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, and what's your don't do? What's your avoid for Mercury retrograde? Oh, okay, so interesting. So what wants to come through, Aries, is Mercury retrograde for you is a lot about inclusivity right now is the word I want to use, because we have the Six of Cups, we have the Artist, and we also have the Nine of Pentacles here. The Nine of Pentacles is a very independent type of energy, but the Six of Cups talks much more about family and familiarity. And with the Artist here, there's something about you using your skills, you using your talents, even just your very Aries nature, right? The big I am, your independence, your ability to assert yourself, using it to teach other people in your immediate environment how to do it as well. There's a feeling here that over the next 2 weeks, especially because Mercury retrograde is a time of revision, right? So are there instances, Aries, where your strengths, where your acuities, where your independence could have been used to be of service to other people, whether it's by you initiating it or by you helping other people to embody more of the traits that you just naturally carry around? There might might be opportunities for you to do that. With the artist as well, it definitely kind of feels as though you're coming forward as like a leader over the next 2 weeks, really being able to encourage and guide and help mold a lot of the people around you, especially if there are younger minds, beginners, children around you. You can really step forward as a role model. Something to avoid over the next 2 weeks, it's the Six of Wands. And so there's sort of the idea here of showboating, showing off, peacocking, flexing. The thing is, Aries, if we're going to be super honest, is that when you are confident, when you are powerful, when you have a lot of skills, right, that can, one, be a point of conflict for a lot of people, right? We are not out into this world to please other people, right? We don't want to be people pleasers. We don't want to be looking for external validation. Sometimes haters are just going to hate. But when you are carrying around a lot of power like that, you have to recognize that if you're not calling people in, then people will call you out. Does that make sense? So in a way, you can kind of create a sense of social security for yourself over the next 2 weeks, that instead of showboating or peacocking, hey, look at me, I'm an Aries, you can take those skills and those strengths that you have and pour them back into your community, pour them back into your family, pour them back into your circle, and it's going to pay off dividends for you. So the idea here is if you can kind of spread the wealth over the next 2 weeks, you're going to find yourself with a lot more supporters in the future. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Hi Maureen. Hey guys, how you doing? Sending you lots of love. So let's see, Taurus. Let's see, Taurus. One more shuffle for Taurus. And make sure you guys like and comment on the live stream so that way YouTube knows that you want to see more of me in the algorithm. The YouTube algorithm is not my friend. It is constantly in this like mythic battle with me. So make sure that you comment and you click like on the live stream and you subscribe if you haven't already. So Taurus, what should you do over the next 2 weeks during Mercury retrograde? What's important for you to focus on? Okay, King of Wands. And to avoid, oh, all right. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so I want to look at your avoid first, Taurus. Something that you should be avoiding over the next 2 weeks. It's the Four of Cups. It's the Three of Swords. And it's the Two of Pentacles. The first thing that I want to say is over the next 2 weeks, you should avoid trying to resurrect too many things from the past. There's a sense of going in circles here with this Two of Pentacles and this Four of Cups. It's the idea of I'm not going to take a new opportunity because I'm waiting for something that I wanted in the past to come back around. But it only kind of continues to create this cycle of pain, of disappointment, feeling like you're missing out on more and more things because you're waiting for something to circle back around that maybe isn't circling back around at this time, at the very least, or maybe it might not circle back at all. There's also something here about rumination with the Four of Cups and the Three of Swords and the Two of Pentacles. I would not spend too much time over the next 2 weeks, even though Mercury retrogrades are great for reflection. It's the idea of look in the past, see what maybe you did wrong, where you took a misstep, where you could have done things better, and then leave it alone. This feels like a cycle of torture, going back and reminiscing over everything you did wrong, every little mistake over and over again, without a point of release, without a point of surrender, without a point of forgiveness. And instead, really what you should be focusing on is the King of Wands. You should be coming forward really boldly, really confidently, understanding what you have done wrong in the past, right? But really kind of like fixed on success. Over the next 2 weeks, you should be keeping an eye out for opportunities. You should be presenting yourself as very capable and very confident. You should not be spending the next 2 weeks torturing yourself on every tiny little misstep that you ever made and waiting for things to come back around that maybe aren't intended to. Instead, step forward as an individual, step forward really powerfully, and you're going to see a much more positive return on your investment. Hi guys, hi Garrett. This is the Ethereal Visions Tarot. I used it on the week ahead reading for this week. For those of you that don't know, on Patreon, I do all of the zodiac readings every single week. I also do full sign readings every single month, but on Mondays and Fridays, I do a week ahead reading, and I do a weekend horoscope as well. And I use the Ethereal Vision for those this week. This is the deck that I got for Aphrodite, and Aphrodite's altar is right here. Hi, David. So Gemini, let's see what's going on for Gemini. Gemini, what should you do over the next 2 weeks? What should you avoid? It's very interesting. Okay, so Gemini, that's very interesting to me. So when it comes to what to do, what to focus on over the next 2 weeks, you have the Five of Pentacles coming out, and I want you to stay with me for a moment. The Five of Pentacles is not just about despair, poverty, sickness. It's not just about that. The Five of Pentacles is an energy that creates a natural stripping away. When summer turns into fall and the trees start to lose their leaves, that's also a Five of Pentacles energy. There's a stripping away, there is a simplification, and oftentimes in many interpretations, the Five of Pentacles can talk about turning away from an overly attached and an overly materialistic world, and instead focusing much more on inner riches, right? I think that over the next 2 weeks, it's really important for you to kind of get back to basics, because I see the Three of Wands and I also see the Seven of Pentacles. These are energies around preparation and also cultivation. Sometimes we have to kind of push everything to the side and leave ourselves with just the bare basics, right? And sometimes even just to look at like the reality of our situations or our relationships in the face, right? Because the Five of Pentacles can also talk a little bit about feeling alone or feeling abandoned. And so if you're going through experiences where you feel like a tree in autumn and you're losing a lot of leaves, just consider it to be a process of regaining equilibrium, returning to a blank slate, where do you see how high up the vantage point is on this Three of Wands? Where you have the ability to get a really high vantage point, look at the forest from the trees, and see what it is that you need to do in order to get to where you want to be. How you want to move forward, how you need to prepare, and how you have to go about cultivating a new experience now that you have some things that are stripped away. And now you can move to the process of regrowth, right? Now, what to avoid, you have the Two of Cups and you have Justice. And I also see like the Knight of Wands poking at the top of the deck. I know this seems like a strange energy for what to avoid. And with the Two of Cups, I don't think that it's asking you to avoid socialization. It's asking you to avoid relationships necessarily. I think that it's worth considering, Gemini, that sometimes we as people, we're like sponges. And sometimes we forget what like I need and what I want to do and, you know, what's required of me in this life. And instead we focus on what we're going to do together, right? And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't, right? But it feels as though, one, if you have been in situations where it feels like you've been a little rejected, dejected, abandoned, people have put you aside, or things have been stripped away from you, it feels as though with Justice here, it feels like taking things into your own hands, something to avoid over the next 2 weeks, especially because, you know, when Mercury is in retrograde, it's a tricky time communicatively anyway. It's not a time to probably be addressing a lot of relationship issues. I would avoid that over the next 2 weeks. I also don't think that it's advisable for you to be taking things into your own hands, trying to create your own sense of justice in a situation or in a relationship. With the Knight of Wands, it's also over the next 2 weeks really warning you against being overly impulsive. With the Two of Cups as well, with this Justice, I would also avoid trying to use people, places, and things as band-aids or coping mechanisms. It's the idea of you just had your heart broken, right? Sort of like this Five of Pentacles energy. And so I'm going to go find a rebound. But you're no more healed. You don't feel like you've processed the emotions, you've just simply band-aided the pain, right? That in the moment it feels justified, but in reality it was just a moment of being sort of impulsive. Avoid that if you can. It'll be maybe a little bit bittersweet and a little bit uncomfortable for the next 2 weeks, but try and sit with yourself. Be honest with yourself about what needs to go, about what has already left but you're not releasing, even if it's in your own heart and your mind. And then look forward into the future. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And be really honest about what's required of you in order to receive that thing. And then commit yourself to doing the work. Very good? Very good. And let sleeping dogs lie is what I'm hearing over here to avoid. Hi guys, how are you? Remember to hit the like button and make sure you share the live. If any of your friends could also use a little bit of a message for Mercury retrograde, make sure you share it with them so that way we can all survive the next 2 weeks. So let's look at Cancer. Cancer, what are your do's? What are your don'ts for Mercury retrograde? I'm hearing, what's that, Shake It Out by Taylor Swift. Players want to shake, 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 shake it out, shake it out. But I'm also hearing the Florence and Machine song, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, whoa. So one, you might need some movement, Cancer, over the next 2 weeks as Mercury is sort of slowing down. You might need, it might be bringing up some like stale, some stuck energy, and probably the easiest way to move through that is physically. Like with physical movement, there's sort of a feeling here, Cancer, that if you don't move through it physically, you're going to have to move through it emotionally, and emotionally you feel a little worn out. Honestly, and so try and get a couple hot girl walks in. It's gonna help you kind of move that energy. But let's see, what should you do during Mercury retrograde? What's the focus? Ten of Pentacles. What should we be avoiding? What should be avoiding? The Knight of Pentacles. So that's really interesting. One, in terms of what to avoid, I want to say people that take too damn long. Take too damn long, Cancer. If you're sitting around and you're waiting for other people to catch up to you, if you are waiting for other people to uphold some end of the bargain, if you are waiting for other individuals, you might be waiting too long. It's important that you set limits on your time. Right? There's also something about moseying with the Knight of Pentacles here. Something that you should avoid over the next 2 weeks is moseying too much. It's as if you have all of the time in the world. And I don't mean to create a false sense of urgency or anxiety, but there's a feeling of, let's put a little hustle in it, Cancer. Like, let's, again, movement. Like, let's move a little bit. Let's shake it off. Like, let's shake the dust off. You're a little bit like Rip Van Winkle. You're waking up from a very long sleep, but we got to give you an espresso. Like, we got to get Cancers moving a little bit. Now, in what to focus on over the next 2 weeks, you have the Ten of Pentacles. And here is we're really looking at strength. We're looking at stability. And also, don't forget, Pentacles has a very communal energy. And remember that, health is wealth, but community is wealth too. And combining or integrating working with your community might be kind of like a key factor in long-term success. But again, the Ten of Pentacles, it talks about longevity. And so it thinks something that you should be thinking about right now is the big picture. It's the long haul. And maybe if you've been trying to pray or manifest or bring in something into your life, and it's something that is intended to be present, immediate relief, try switching that intention, switching that prayer, switching that craft, that spell work towards something that has more staying power, something that's more long-term. It's the idea of, can you please send me some money versus can you please give me wisdom on how to maintain my money over the course of my lifetime, right? Do you see the difference in that? I always like to say the universe has no problem writing checks, but it wants you to fill out the memo line. It wants to know what it's for. And by switching it towards experiences, relationship, abundance that have longevity, that have quality, sustainability, and also a communal aspect to it, that's going to go a lot farther, right? So again, with the Knight of Pentacles, avoid waiting too long for other people to catch up to you, to hold their end of the bargain, and you should avoid dragging your feet over the next 2 weeks, and instead really start thinking big picture and trying to put some of those plans in place. And if you need assistance, if you need wisdom, if you need a mentor, right, because there's an older character here having a bit of a conversation, if you need some kind of assistance or mentorship, then allow yourself to go and ask for it, because there's people available in your community who can help you. Let's see. Leo. See Leo's do's and Leo's don'ts. They changed everything. I'm getting too old for this. Yeah, it's crazy. thought it was just more deeper patience. Hi, Lady Aga. Hi, guys. All right, Leo. Ooh, what to do? What to focus on? You have the Knight of Wands. What to avoid? Three of Cups. And the Six of Wands. Okay. Four of Cups, Eight of Wands. All right, Leo. So something that you should be focusing on over the next 2 weeks is the Knight of Wands, right? So we're putting a little bit of hustle in your step here. The Knight of Wands is really enthusiastic. The Knight of Wands is passionate. The Knight of Wands also gets in and gets out. So the word I want to use for you is efficiency and effectiveness. Whatever you have to do over the next 2 weeks, go in with a great spirit, but go in like a surgeon. Go in, get it done, and then get out. The Knight of Wands is here for a good time and not necessarily a long time. So something that's important over the next 2 weeks as well is to make the most of all of your experiences. I'm also getting the impression that like you might have to be sort of the personality hire, or you might have to be sort of the life of the party over the next 2 weeks. So if you find yourself in circumstances, if you find yourself in circles, if you find yourself in rooms where the energy is just dragging ass a little bit, you might have to like light a little fire under everyone. Like you might have to be the cruise director, but allow yourself to do it, because in doing that, it's going to allow you to direct the energy in the direction that you actually want it to go, as opposed to just being a product or a victory or a victim of the energy that is just available to you at the time, right? But the Knight of Wands, again, like I said, it's sort of a temporary energy. It moves in and it moves out relatively quickly. So it feels as though it would also be important for you over the next 2 weeks to identify sort of what, almost the exact opposite of Cancer. What's the short-term work that is required of you? Like you might have to show up with like a little bit more razzle-dazzle than you would prefer to, or you might feel like that day, in order to sort of meet your objectives. Just allow yourself to do it, right? Because it's going to help you be more efficient and it's going to help you be more effective. Now, what to avoid over the next 2 weeks? The first thing is you have the Three of Cups. You also have the Six of Wands again, right? So the first thing with the Three of Cups is one, what comes through is overindulgence and gossip as well with the Three of Cups. With the Six of Wands, there's sort of an idea here of avoid counting your chickens before they hatch. Avoid resting on your laurels. Like avoid celebrating victories that you don't necessarily have trophies for, right? Don't write it in. Don't phone it in over the next 2 weeks. Show up big, show up determined, show up passionate, get in, do what you gotta do, and then get out. It's like, don't stay after for the pizza party, high-fiving each other for raises that you don't have those checks in your hands yet, right? Because that is going to make you lazy. That is going to slow you down. It's going to have you resting on your laurels when you need to be pushing forward. Very good. Very good. Yesterday, my son said he's relieved. My name is Mom, made of money. That's so Let's see, Virgo. What do we have for my Virgos? I actually feel like Virgos are going to have a relatively easy time over the next 2 weeks, but let's see. Virgo, what's to do? What's your focus over Mercury retrograde? Ooh, fast. The Nine of Swords. What are you avoiding? What are you avoiding? You kind of feel like you want to come out. The Two of Pentacles. All right, Virgo. Knight of Cups at the bottom. King of Cups at the top. So what I want to say is over the next 2 weeks, it's important for you to figure out what matters to you across the board. What matters to you? And specifically, whose opinion matters to you over the next 2 weeks? Because something to focus on, Nine of Swords, is one, we want to look at the sort of root of your anxiety or the root of your despair. And it feels like a lot of it has to do with fear of criticism. If you notice in this Nine of Swords, there's these ghostly and these ghoulish characters laughing and pointing here, right? Like this feels like being ostracized. This feels like bullying. This feels like there's too many antagonists around you. Now, One, if you have a fear of failure, imposter syndrome, if you have a fear of putting yourself out there because people are going to criticize you, or they're not going to believe you, or they're going to make fun of you, you have to decide whose opinion matters. Now, if this, and this is for some of you, it's not going to be for all of you, but because these are coming forward as like ghosts, right? If you also have some energetic or some spiritual antagonists over the next 2 weeks, it's really important that you confront them. Something that I teach my clients and my students all the time is that from a spiritual perspective, you have to be the most dominant energy in your space. It is not okay to have spirits, ancestors of any kind coming into your space and poking you and prodding you and kind of running you up and down the street. It is not okay. So for some of you, part of the stress that you may be experiencing has to do with poor spiritual hygiene and boundaries. You got to get better at warding your space. You got to get better at sending spirits out. You got to get better at claiming spiritual dominance in your home, in your life, and especially in your head, right? Swords, it's that mental real estate. Otherwise, whether it has to do with a fear of criticism, a fear of failure, people making fun of you or not taking you seriously, it's important that you kind of root that out right from the stem, because otherwise it's going to keep following you around. And again, it's important that you figure out whose opinion actually matters in your life, because when we're looking at what to avoid, you have the Two of Pentacles, which feels like juggling, right? It's this idea of like, well, is their opinion in their investment more important than mine? I'm not sure. And there's, with this infinity sign, it's this idea of like going around in circles, almost like picking petals off of a daisy, right? They love me not, they love me, they love me not. It's too much. Like I said before, it feels like overall Mercury retrograde is relatively easy on you. It's just merely asking you to confront the ways in which your own mind is inhospitable. It's the idea of Mercury retrograde doesn't have to kick your ass, Virgo, because you are so good at like torturing yourself in your own head. So again, you have to decide whose opinion matters, what's important to you, and who actually gets a say. And if it has to do with any antagonistic spirits, ancestors, people, social media, then that's stuff that you're going to have to confront and you're going to have to cut out, so that way you can gain more peace of mind. They're actually showing me that song Peace of Mind from Lauryn Hill. So that might be a song that you are going to want to listen to, right? And I see the Nine of Cups on the split, right? So you have to confront this Nine of Swords, and if you do, then you'll be able to receive that Nine of Cups, that personal fulfillment later on. Very good. You have to sacrifice one 9 for the other. Libra. Let's see, Libra. Reaffirm boundaries, Holly. That's absolutely right. And also don't forget, boundaries are not just for other people. Boundaries are not just for other spirits. Boundaries are also things that we set with ourselves. Where are you not going to allow yourself to cross? What are you not going to allow yourself to do anymore? How far are you not going to allow yourself to take something, right? Figuring out when enough is enough for you and sticking to it. That's also where our boundaries are supposed to be. Struggling with anxiety again. Yeah. And don't forget, like, as from a spiritual perspective, sometimes that anxiety and sometimes that overstimulation, it has to do with the fact that your auric field is too accessible to the spirits that are around you. That is why we ward. That is why we banish. That is why we cleanse. That is why we have these personal rituals. It's to protect the integrity of your energy. And if you are in any way neurodivergent and you're already prone to overstimulation, then that is going to be even more important for you, because an excess of spirits, especially unwelcome spirits, or even spirits that just aren't energetically compatible with you. Have you ever met a person who is fine? They're not mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but your energies just don't jive? The same thing can happen with spirits. There can be spirits, ancestors, entities that are around you that they don't mean you any harm. They're not malicious. Maybe they're land spirits. Maybe they're just passing on through. Maybe they are an ancestor, but maybe your energies just don't jive together that well. And when they're around, they spark up your energy in a way that is disharmonious to you, right? And so you have to figure out sometimes and like kind of clear the room, like what is promoting anxiety and overstimulation and what is promoting calm and equilibrium. There have been plenty of times where there are certain entities that have come into my space and come into my practice who I absolutely love, but their energy kind of stirs the pot. I've told you guys the story before, really sort of stirs the pot in a way that creates dis-ease in my home or in my practice, right? And those are spirits that I've had to say, I love you, but like I can't really have you here because you're upsetting my apple cart, you know? And so sometimes those are decisions that you have to make, right? Again, just from a spiritual perspective. Hi, Matt. Hi. To head out and get ready for work. Sending you much love and hoping this background learns to love you as much as I did. Thank you, Maddie. I love you too. You're the best. I'm trying. It's like YouTube. It's like I have been so loyal and good to YouTube. Like ever since I first started, it's like I have done thousands of readings, like all of the zodiacs, collective readings, Sunday service, divine feminine, like live streams with other groups. Like I have been so loving and so dedicated to YouTube and to my channel. And lately, like, I've been having these moments of, like, should I just give up on YouTube because the algorithm can't stand me? Like, it doesn't push my readings anymore, right? I moved all of the zodiac readings over to Patreon because it was taking me, you know, like, if I do, like, the full zodiac readings like I used to, right, with the extended reading and laying out all the cards and the storyboard, that's like an hour and a half to do a single reading. And after 3 years and thousands of videos, like, YouTube just wouldn't push them, and it's just not sustainable for my energy. So I moved them all over to Patreon, right? Which is great because the second, and I know some of you are really disappointed and you're always asking me about the zodiac readings over here, and I feel terrible, but since I moved the zodiac readings just exclusively over to Patreon, I am feeling so much more refreshed. I'm able to get so many more readings done. They're so much more enjoyable to do as well because the people that are going to see them are also people that paid for them, right? So they've made an energetic investment into me, and so the energy exchange is a lot better. So I feel fresher, I'm more energized, I'm more excited to do them. The readings are coming out better, right? And so it stings because I love YouTube and I don't want to give up on YouTube. And every so often I come on here and I'll do a reading or a collective message or a live stream just to kind of flirt with YouTube a little bit. Like, hey, like, do you like me back? Like, do you want me here? And, you know, it's always, you know, a little cat and mouse game, but I love YouTube and I love you guys and I miss you, but as a spiritual worker, right? It's like I have to be like the little mermaid. I have to be where the people are because my job is to get out the messages to the people that need them. And so I have to figure out like where the people are. And obviously part of Spirit's job is to create the flow of energy for me to slip into, you know, so me and the people, me and the collective can meet each other. And for a long time it was over here, and lately it's been in other places like TikTok, right? But I have to be where the people are so I can give them their messages, so I can promote healing and, you know, intellectual advancement in them. That's part of what my job is, and I'm meant to kind of take an ace of wand and like put it right in the middle of your brain and get you thinking about your life in a different way. And if people aren't showing up here on YouTube, then that's okay, but then I gotta go where they are, right? Because that's my job. And so hopefully YouTube and the algorithm starts being a little bit more welcoming to me after all of these years of love and investment. But, you know, in the meantime, then I'm going to try and pop on whenever I can and get you guys your readings. But until then, you can always find me on Patreon. I have all of the monthlies over there. I do weekly zodiac readings every single day. Aries till, Virgo. Aries to Virgo are all going to go out this week. I do week ahead energy forecast. I do weekend readings. Sometimes I'll do extra bonus readings over there. I do a lot. And on TikTok, I do a lot of tarot education. So if you're looking to become a better tarot reader, if you want to join my classes or my school, if you want some tarot tips and stuff like that, like TikTok is the place to find me to do that. And otherwise, you can always find me on my website, on my bulletin board, which is in the description box for you. So upcoming classes, new personal readings, discounts on certain sessions. And again, I just put free articles, free resources, all the stuff that you could possibly need. It's there. Sometimes you just have to seek me out a little bit because the algorithm isn't always pushing me towards you. But anyway, Libra, what are we focusing on? All right. And what are we avoiding, Libra? I had to take that tangent. I had to take like an 8-minute tangent. What are we avoiding for Mercury retrograde, Libra? Ooh. Oh, so interesting. Good for you. Good for you, Libra. Okay, so the Ace of Swords, so a little bit like Virgo's, like figuring out like what's important. The Ace of Swords is also coming forward like a big division, right? It almost feels like work-life balance. So something that you should be focusing, Libra, over the next 2 weeks. Mercury is trying to get you to reflect on the Nine of Cups, right? Which is this personal fulfillment. And yes, it's wish fulfillment, but like I wonder like if that wish fulfillment is about like feeling happy. So often, like, we have so many dreams and ambitions, right? Like, I want to be abundant. I want to fall in love. I want to make more money. I want to move. I want to do this. But I think at the core of all of those is this idea of I want to be happy. And so maybe over the next 2 weeks, Mercury retrograde is asking you to reflect on, you know, all the other things that you want to do and you like, right? But how at the core, sometimes the things that you do in order to acquire stability or happiness actually take you out of like your core. They take you out of your center. And so maybe like holding a squat or holding a lunge, over the next 2 weeks, you're really being encouraged to hold this posture of contentment, of happiness with right where you are, but more importantly, Libra, with right who you are. Yes? And then when it comes to what to avoid over the next 2 weeks, I think this is great. It's the Eight of Pentacles and it's the Ten of Wands. Don't quit hustling. Don't overwork yourself. And I know on this Nine of Cups, he has a satchel here, and it looks like, you know, it's a little bag. Like, he has his little pentacles, or he has his little coins. But when I kind of push it off to the side, it looks like a big timepiece. And so there's sort of this idea here of, like, time is finite. We don't know how much time we have on this earth and in these bodies, and quality of life is really kind of being put center stage for you. So for the next 2 weeks, avoid taking on more than you can carry, right? Really honor your limitations. Avoid, what I want to say is overworking the dough. It feels as though you've already done a tremendous amount of work to get you where you are, and the next 2 weeks is really a time to sort of just appreciate how far you've come. The Eight of Pentacles, it talks about refinement, it talks about repetition, it talks about mastery. And when you already have something complete, when you've already mastered a lesson, when you've already refined the skill, to keep going and going and going, it's like overworking a dough. It's just gonna get tough and it's just gonna get dried out. It's like if your painting was already perfect and you just can't, almost like this like obsessive compulsive need to just go in there and fix one thing and fix one thing. That's a compulsion. That's not like an artistic expression, right? Don't overwork the dough. Don't take on more than you have to do. And also don't feel the need like you have to redo work that you've already done at such a cost and an expense to your peace of mind. Does that make sense? Leave things where they are. Zoom out, let things settle, and just appreciate like what you've accomplished thus far, how far you've already come. Acknowledge that maybe quality of life and happiness is really at the core of sort of like all of our actions, and see if you can't sort of tap into that and hold that position just as you are, just as things are now. Very good? Very good. You do what you can do, LB. The evolution of Lauren. Yeah, thanks. I try. Like, I'm busy. Like, I'm always doing stuff. Like, I'm always doing readings. How many readings did I do today? I did 1, 2, 3, 4. I did full Mercury retrograde brings out my stutter. The patrons know this. I've already done 4 full readings before I came on live stream today. And when I get off of this live stream, I'm probably going to take a little break, and then I'm probably going to go live over on TikTok and do some personal readings. And then tomorrow I have a bunch of I'm always doing readings. It's like I'm always doing readings. I'm typing up courses. I'm making free study guides for you. Like, I'm doing something, you know what I mean? I'm not just like resting on my laurels, you know? Let's see, Scorpio. Also, I have not written down any of the timestamps for this, but if there is someone who, after the fact, would like to put the timestamps down in the description box for your friends who are going to watch this later on the replay, we would be very grateful to you. All right, let's see. Scorpio, what's our focus for Mercury retrograde? The bottom one feels like it wants to come out a little bit. The Page of Swords. One, immediately there's a feeling here of it's important for you to change the questions that you're asking. In my tarot school, and if Jenna's still here, she'll remember, there's a specific course that I do, which I'm actually doing on the 18th of May, and it's Spread Curation 1-on-1, and it's basically I teach you how to ask way better questions when you sit down to do tarot readings, right? Oftentimes students will sit down and you'll sit down to pull your own cards. You go, this didn't really answer my question. I feel more confused than ever. And sometimes it's the quality of our questions dictates like the quality of the clarity or lack thereof that comes in for us. This Page of Swords is interesting because if you notice, she's walking forward. Her sword is upright and it is pointed forward, but she's looking backwards. And so there's sort of this idea that Scorpio, like something that you should be focusing on is asking questions that pertain to the direction that you're trying to go in. Because some of the questions you're asking feel like they pertain to the past. Why did that happen? What was the purpose of that? What was I supposed to learn? Like that type of thing, when instead you should be asking, how can I move forward as easily as possible? What wisdom do I need to take with me? What are pitfalls that I should avoid, right? Ask questions over the next 2 weeks, because maybe that's something in the past that you haven't done before, that Mercury retrograde is slowing you down and asking you to reflect on. When the energy shifts and you start moving forward, why is that the time when you try and do an accounting of what is already past? Maybe we need to start asking questions about, again, what's coming forward, what we can expect, how we should prepare, things like that. That feels really important. And there's also something that sometimes the Page of Swords can indicate like delayed news. And so if you find yourself asking questions like, where is it? When's it coming? Why haven't I heard? Why? Ask again questions of like, what can I be doing presently? What would be the most beneficial thing for me to focus on right now, right? How can I utilize this waiting time to my advantage? Things like that. Ask better questions. You're going to get better answers and better clarity. Interesting. Very interesting. So something to avoid. The Chariot and the Four of Wands is I mean, you want to be like, don't go to any weddings, right? If anyone invites you to like a wedding or a birthday party, avoid it. Don't go. No. What I want to say, there's two very interesting things that come forward. The Chariot comes forward in the sense of always moving. Something to avoid is always moving for the sake of avoiding being present where you are. And the Chariot as a card of Cancer, right, it kind of talks about that thick outer shell, that just like you can be like a hermit held up in your house, not doing anything, not talking to anyone to avoid participating in life, you can constantly be on the go, on the grind, on the move to also avoid slowing down, being present, having a genuine and, you know, authentic moment with yourself and with other people. Like, avoid that. Like, slow things down a little bit, right? Because again, here she's moving forward, but she's looking back. We kind of want to like slow down the pace a little bit. That feels important. This Four of Wands is a little bit interesting as well, and sort of what I want to say a couple things. The first thing that I feel is this Four of Wands looks a little bit like a church or a chapel. And what I want to say is it's important for you over the next 2 weeks to begin to think for yourself and not just to follow the programs or the dogma or the opinions of anything or anyone else outside of you. You have to figure out how to make decisions for yourself. There's also something here with the Four of Wands about it being, because it's the Four of Wands, it's not the 10 of Pentacles. So there's sort of like a temporary energy. So something I also want to say is avoid staying in places too long. Like after the clock has run out, that feels really important. It's sort of like being able to know when the party's ending, so that host doesn't have to ask you to leave. You can just kind of quietly see yourself out. That feels like it's really important. There's also something here about low-hanging fruit, because I actually see low-hanging fruit in this card as well. Be mindful of that. Make sure, as with any Mercury retrograde, that you're kind of crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Make sure you're reading the fine print, especially on like events, weddings, like stuff like that, before you agree to go to them, right? Yeah, I'll come out with you guys. Meanwhile, they're going to like the most expensive restaurant in town, and maybe you like don't have that fluidity in this current moment, right? So pay attention to that. Make sure you get the details before you sign on, before you agree to things over the next 2 weeks. And instead, like, again, really focus on asking better questions of the universe, of yourself, and of people in general. Not many people can make me feel empowered while calling my BS. That's why I appreciate you. I have a tendency to isolate when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. I love you so much. You know how much I care about you. And I get the same way. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with like taking a moment, right? Especially, again, if you're autistic, if you have ADHD, if you're neurodivergent and you're overwhelmed or overstimulated, you need to take that minute to like self-soothe and like center yourself. But something that's important is that when there's a difference between taking a beat by yourself and shutting yourself off to the world. And sometimes it does require us to go like, hey, can you talk right now? Like, I need to vent. Like, I'm really stressed out and I just need some perspective. Like, it's okay to do that. Like, I've had to do that plenty of times and it sucks. I don't like it. I don't like it at all because I'm a really independent person and I'd rather keep my own counsel, right? But there are many times, and, you know, Ariel's not here right now, but she can attest, where I'm like, girl, I'm upset. Like, I just told her something like the other day that I was like carrying for like a month. She's like, you were carrying that all by yourself? I'm like, I was, and I shouldn't have been, because it was too heavy for me. You know, so sometimes pride gets in the way of, you know, what could be healthy decisions for us. Right? 6 of Wands and Justice, pride gets in the way. So let's see, Sagittarius, moving our way through. All right, Sag, what's your focus for Mercury retrograde? Ooh, the Fool. How fun. And the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. Okay, so interesting. So the first thing that I want to... So, okay. The thing that's really sticking out with me with this Fool card is his little umbrella. I've never seen a Fool with a little umbrella, but when I'm looking at his little umbrella, there is something about a rainy day, because you don't need an umbrella unless you're expecting some kind of rain. And there is like a big sunny sky behind him, right? So it's like, and underneath this umbrella, there's all these little white dots, which kind of feel like stars. So organizing my thoughts, what I want to say, Sagittarius, to focus on is, over the next 2 weeks, when things are good, it is a good time to prepare for rainy days, or for when the astrology is not always on your side. This is something that came up in the weekly reading, I believe, that I just did, or the weekend reading. It's this idea of like an offense versus a defense, working on preventative measures versus working on treatment. Oftentimes, it is when something goes wrong that we get kicked into action, and that creates more stress and more anxiety for us. The Fool and the leaps of faith, and is this foolish? Or it's that feeling of everything's fine, I'm young, why do I need a retirement fund? Or why do I need life insurance? Or business is good right now, like why do I need to put away extra money? Because sometimes it rains, or sometimes we get sick, or sometimes the astrology is just beating your ass. And so even though it feels like a little bit foolish, like why should I invest in that now? Like why should I take care of that now? Even something like, well, why should I start this business now? Why should I do, because you don't know. Maybe Spirit's like, hey, go start that business because you don't know that you're going to get fired next month, right? Just stuff like that, right? Don't forget, the Fool operates on instinct, not logic. So over the next 2 weeks during Mercury retrograde, and again, you might be saying, but it's Mercury retrograde, I shouldn't be, because the Fool also talks about new beginnings. I shouldn't be starting new stuff. I shouldn't be investing in new stuff. Like I should just kind of be maintaining the status quo. Your instinct might say, go and start that program. Go and write that book. Go apply for that job. Go start that business. Go start saving money over here. And it might not make sense because of the timing, but it might make perfect sense in relation to what's coming forward. And that doesn't necessarily like have to be anything bad. You know what I mean? Your boss might piss you off in 2 weeks and it doesn't matter because you've got clients of your own over here. But trust your instincts over the next 2 weeks. Feel free to start saving for a rainy day. We want to prepare when times are good because it doesn't cost us nearly as much, right? Quarterly pulse check. Yeah. Now something to avoid, it's the Wheel of Fortune. So it's this idea of resting on your laurels, or just assuming that everything is going to be good all of the time, or assuming that things are going to be bad all the time either, right? Because this energy could go either way, right? What's the point of starting something new? What's the point of taking a risk? Because look, I have my umbrella. It doesn't matter how sunny it looks, because sooner or later it always rains on me. It could be a bright sunny day, but there's always a black cloud over my head, right? It could go both ways for you, Sagittarius. But the idea here is, one, recognizing that the wheel goes up and the wheel goes down for everyone all of the time. And sometimes we don't always recognize when people's wheels are up or down. But the idea here is to not expect things to be the same. I was watching like an actors roundtable, and it was Tom Hanks. And someone asked Tom Hanks, you know, if you could go back and give advice to your younger self, what would you? What would you say? And he said that this too shall pass. He goes, when things are good, this too shall pass. And when things are bad, this too shall pass, right? And so it feels like Mercury retrograde is trying to get you to embody your inner Tom Hanks and recognize that things are good, and then things get shitty, and then things get better, and then things get questionable again. And to trust your instincts about when to do things, and that it's not always going to be a black cloud over your head. And so maybe you do want to take a shot. Maybe you do want to take a risk. Maybe life isn't out to get you forever, and maybe you should start working on some of those dreams. And vice versa, maybe things are going really well, but like winter comes for all of us, the North remembers. And so when times are good, use that as an opportunity to start piling away a little bit of harvest, so that way when things are less comfortable, you have a cushion, right? The Ten of Swords at the bottom of the deck. We want to set ourselves up for success by not being overly pessimistic because things have been hard. And we also want to set ourselves up for success by not being overly optimistic and think that things will never meet another challenge in our life. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Quarterly pulse check. Yes. I just paid my taxes. I wish I had done that Sagittarius reading of a while ago, because then I wouldn't have paid so much for my taxes. It's expensive being a business owner, apparently. So let's see. Who do you have next? Capricorn. Capricorn. Let's see. One. All right, Capricorn. What's the focus? Ooh, that's fast. The Tower. All right. Page of Wands. What are we avoiding? Knight of Pentacles. And the Fool. Oh my God. You have a lot. Okay, so you're avoiding a lot. So hold on. Death at the bottom. Transformation. Transformation. All right. Okay, so I want to look at your avoid first, Capricorn. You have the Knight of Pentacles and the Fool. You also have the Nine of Swords, and you have the Ten of Pentacles. So something that I feel like wants to be avoided and kind of wants to be reflected on is this Knight of Pentacles and the Fool. It feels like sometimes you move so slow, you move so mindfully, so in a way that is so calculated that sometimes, like, by the time you get done with your assessment and your analysis, the window of opportunity to do something, pursue something, invest, begin, it is already past. And then with the Nine of Swords, you're kind of left here in the same old situation. You're left with that stress, you're left with that anxiety, knowing that you missed an opportunity to further solidify yourself. At the end of the day, we know that you want to be solidified. We know that you want to secure yourself for a better future, and I don't blame you for that. But sometimes you can be so overly cautious that you end up missing really auspicious moments of energy. Avoid doing that. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more responsive. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more reactive. Sometimes you have to be instinctual. The Knight of Pentacles is probably the smartest knight out of all of them, to be honest. But at the same time, he lacks instinct and he lacks a little bit of hunger. at the same time, right? And so again, being overly cautious may cause you to miss opportunities that then stress you out later when you go back and you reflect on them. So try to avoid doing that and allow yourself to be a little bit more instinctual. I'm going to stick with that word because it feels like the right word, which makes sense now when we go back to the Tower. What is your focus? We have the Tower and we have the Page of Wands. With the Tower here, this is like a snap, a crackle, and a pop. The Tower brings a big bang. A lot of times, it's something that is unexpected. The Tower also brings up this energy that is really spontaneous, right? So does the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is energetic. The Page of Wands is enthusiastic. It's also a student. It's a younger, it's a more naive energy insofar as that it does not claim to be an expert, it does not claim to be proficient, it does not claim to be a mentor, right? One time I was doing like a social media spread for myself because I wanted to know how I could set myself up better with the various algorithms that I am on. And I was asking about TikTok, and I asked like what kind of content would be most successful for me, and I got the Tower, right? Does that mean that I'm supposed to come forward and rock the boat, stir the pot? No. What it meant for me with the Tower, and this is just a mini tarot lesson I'm throwing in here, what it meant for me is that I was supposed to come in and do something quick, like a quick little video, a quick little snap, a quick little drop in the bucket, and then get the fuck out, right? Drop the lightning, and then hop out of the building and go back to doing what I'm doing. That's what you should be focusing on as well. Being more spontaneous, getting in, doing it, allowing it not to be perfect, not be so calculated. 5555 on my camera as I film this. And allow yourself to just show up, not as a leader or a mentor, but just as like a willing and excited participant of life. Very good? Very good. Capricorn. That's a good one. Slow June metal place. There is a band. I think the band is called the Tox Hearts. The Tox Hearts. And they have a song called Doom Bops, which is really catchy. And I think the song is like he's playing like doom metal, whatever it is, like these depressing ass songs at work. And his boss comes over. It's like, can you stop playing Doom Bops? The worst case scenario. I was like really stressed out, honestly, like this whole month, and like at the end of like I've been really fucking stressed out my French, and I was having a really hard time like coming out of like this negative, like scary headspace, and I was going on one of my little hot girl walks, and on my shufflemancy, like God played that Doom Bop song, like stop playing Doom Bops, and it's literally like God from heaven being like, stop playing this sad, depressing ass music, like stop with like the worst case scenario in your head, like I need you to snap out of it. And I was like, okay, just like in the middle of the neighborhood, like 5 o'clock in the morning, like, all right, I gotta get my shit together, I gotta get a brighter perspective, holy crap. What do I have next? Aquarius, almost done. Aquarius, I use this deck for your May monthly reading, and you're the only sign that got it, because that's just the way it shook out. I saw Stranger Slaughter to Prevail last night. Is that a band or is that a movie? Aquarius, what's the focus? What's the retrograde focus for my water bearers? Ooh. The Hangman. Ooh, it came out in reverse. Getting unstuck. What are you avoiding? What should be avoided during this time? The Chariot. That's really interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. The Five of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. So what I want to say, Aquarius, so what to do, what to focus on. You have the Hangman. It did come out in reverse. And then what to avoid is the Chariot. Most immediately that I want to say, it's not just about getting unstuck. It's about how you get unstuck, because there's a lesson in the Hangman. Part of the lesson is obviously patience. Sometimes you just gotta wait shit out, right? We have the Five of Pentacles, which can talk about like a personal winter, even though I don't think you're in a personal winter. You also have the Four of Swords. So here's the thing, is sometimes we want something to come in for us, but in reality, if we were being honest with ourselves, we would not have the energy to maintain it, right? So let's say like you're burnt out, and you want all of this abundance to come in, right? You want more business, you want more clients. Would you actually be able to keep up with it? Probably not, because you're burnt out, right? So sometimes that stagnancy, sometimes that waiting period, it's for a really good reason, right? So again, part of the lesson of the Hangman, it is patience, but there's a process. It's not just about being patient while you wait. There's also an internal process that's going on while you wait. And part of that is stepping outside of the ego. Stepping outside of the roles you play in this world, stepping outside of the way you think things are supposed to be, and grabbing onto like a bigger picture, and grabbing onto like a higher sense of self, right? So in this Hangman, you see him, he looks like he's trying to untangle himself, and it's not about just getting unstuck, it's about how you do it, because you could take, right, what to avoid, any movement. You could stir the pot. You could shake things up. You could, cut yourself down from like this pillar that you're swinging on, right? But is it the right moment to move? Are you moving before you've solidified a new internal position? Are you going forward before you have the mindset, right? Something that I always tell you guys about, say, the Six of Swords is you can move from rocky waters into smoother ones, but if you got the same mindset in the new place as you did the old, it's not going to stay smooth for long. You know what I'm saying? There's an internal process, and this is what Mercury retrograde is trying to get you to focus, and it's also asking you, similar to one of the other signs, that if you are constantly moving as a way to avoid being still with yourself, to understand yourself, to commune with self, to tap into a deeper or higher aspect of yourself. Are you avoiding that? And if you have abandonment issues of any kind, Aquarius, neglect, abandonment, is this a way that you further neglect and abandon yourself the way other people have in the past? That Five of Pentacles and that Four of Swords. Is it worth considering that you are continuing that cycle with your treatment to self and the way you handle and move through your cycles? If so, it's Mercury retrograde, it's 2 weeks. Take 2 weeks and sit with yourself, sit with your shit. Stop trying to cut yourself down and allow yourself to just swing and to just think before you move forward. So that way, when you do climb down, you have a new mindset. You have a new understanding of yourself. You're tapped into a bigger purpose and a bigger picture. So when you do move, you're actually cooking with gas. Very good? Very good. It's a band in slow-mo. Sounds like a T-Rex. Oh, that's so funny. In advanced acrobatics, the main keystone is still. Balanced action. I did a collective message a few months ago about keystones. Do you remember that? Keystones have been coming back around as well lately. I've heard it a few times in the last few days, so it might be another sort of wider collective reading that I have to come on and do soon. Balanced action. Balance is a really big word right now. I have like a list that I do every week of like my personal card pulls, like for myself, what I can expect for the week, my to-do list, like what work is ahead of me. But also like I started doing like personal goals for myself, and I have like fitness and like health goals. And something that I wrote was like balanced and consistent like meals and snacks. Because I don't always feed myself like consistently. Pisces, last but not least, all right. All right, Pisces, what's the focus for Mercury retrograde? Ooh, oh, you got a couple. What should we be avoiding? Nothing? Don't avoid anything. What to avoid during Mercury retrograde for Pisces? That's so interesting. That is so interesting, Pisces. I mean, I see like one like kind of poking out, the Queen of Swords, but that's interesting. You shouldn't be avoiding anything. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe you're coming out of your avoidant tendencies. People say that Pisces are avoidant, we're wishy-washy, we're X, Y, and Z, maybe. So, something to be focusing on. The first thing I see So I'm going to show you the order that they came out, or what I first saw. The first card that I saw come out was the Ace of Swords, and then the Sun card was underneath it. So it feels as though something during Mercury retrograde that's really important for you to focus on. One, it's clarity. Coming into alignment with like what your beliefs actually are. Swords have to do with your beliefs, your ideas, your ideologies, your personal philosophies, and if they are in alignment with an optimistic point of view, right? The best case scenario. And also if they are, which is funny because I'm Pisces now, I was talking about balance, like lunch and stuff. The Sun also talks about like health and vitality. Is your belief system, are your personal philosophies and ideologies, are your opinions healthy? Are they balanced? Are they in resonance? Are they aligning you, Pisces, to who you want to be and what you want to do and where you want to go? That's something to be focusing on, right? And can allow yourself to confront if they're not. It's okay if they're not. Then you have the Eight of Cups, and then you have the Five of Wands. So something I also, it's kind of funny. What I want to say is something to focus on with the Eight of Cups is walking away from things that inspire unnecessary friction, competition, and chaos, right? So, you know, it's funny because no card came out for like what to avoid, but the Eight of Cups is kind of asking you sort of to avoid situations that, again, are, I want to say, like, set up for you to fail. The only outcome that could come out of it is further conflict, competition, and argument, right? There is something here with the Eight of Cups and the Five of Wands, though, about asking if you are potentially, like, conflict avoidant. If you have a hard time speaking up for yourself. The Sun is also coming forward as like a lot of confidence, right? Like if low self-esteem or like an uncertainty in self causes you to like avoid confrontation at times when like you should be self-advocating, you should be standing up for yourself. You know, the Five of Wands says that it's important to discern the difference between situations and relationships that are only going to inspire chaos, arguments, that there's never really going to be a winner, or like there's never going to ever be able to be like a peace negotiation, and being able to discern that and walk away from it to preserve your own emotional integrity, but also be able to discern what situations are being put in front of you so you can self-advocate, so you can lean into confrontation when it's important, when there's a principle, when there's a purpose to it, and to not shy away from the heat when you know you have like an intellectual or a moral standing in which to advocate for. There's just a level here of discernment. So like I said, nothing specifically is coming out in terms of like anything that you should be avoiding doing over Mercury retrograde. As a matter of fact, it's about discerning what things cannot be avoided and what things should be. And if they should be avoided, it has to be for a higher purpose, like mental health, like emotional integrity, like alignment. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's what I got for you. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, I just wanted to do something sort of simple for the next 2 weeks, just so you guys have like a little bit of, you know, to get your bearings a little bit over the next 2 weeks. Hi, Verder. Meal prep, Lauren. You'll find if I heard. I don't like it. I don't like meal prep like that. I usually go to the store on like a Monday or Tuesday. I like pick the meals that like I want to eat. So like I sort of meal prep, but I don't compile them into like little bins and stuff because I'll get bored. If I eat like the same thing for 2 days, I don't want to eat that chicken again in that little container. It'll fucking gross me out. But like I'll have like 4 or 5 different meals that like I'll eat throughout the week, but like I'll just assemble them as I need them. I don't like to put them in like the pre-packaged fit. It freaks me out. I get funny about stuff, and like I worked in food service. Like I was a bartender for so many years. I worked in hospitality. That like I get really funny about like the quality of food, about when stuff spoils, when it's sitting too long. Like I get really funny about that. It's just a thing. I think I died in a past life because I ate some like spoiled food, like some bad bread or something. So I'm like really sensitive to like the potential expiration of food that I eat. I'm like really funny about it. It's like a big ism for me. But I think I ate some like moldy bread. Like in a past life, and I think I croaked. So, you know, it's a thing. It's an ism. I accept it. Find your attachment style, Pisces. Yeah. see. Oh, I read a lot about attachment styles in parental, social, and partnership as part of my own healing. Yeah. Finish the assignment, Jen. Yeah, she usually does. My kid is the same way. Always great to see you, Lauren. Thanks. So it's good to see you guys. I love you so much. So this is what I have for you. I hope that this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, as a reminder, I do a full weekly forecast for the upcoming week over on Patreon. I do the same thing for the weekend roundup. I do the zodiac readings every single week. Your May monthly readings will be coming out very shortly. And tarot classes start on May 1st. So if you want to take a tarot class with me and practice your skills, make some new friends, if you need a personal reading, if you're looking to join our Patreon community, if you're looking for free tarot resources and study guides to help you along your journey, all of those links and information, it's going to be in the description box below. And again, as I said, YouTube is not always as hospitable to me as it should be after all of these years. So if you would not mind liking and sharing and commenting on the video so YouTube knows to show you more of me, that would be greatly appreciated. And otherwise, you can always find me again on Patreon is my main hub, but you can find me on TikTok. I do a lot of live streams over there, and I'm always on Instagram as one is. So that's what I got. I love you guys very much. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.